سبحان الله والحمد وعدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزينة عرشه ومداد كلماته ثم إذن بعد. We're gonna do a pop quiz from last halaqah. So which nation was destroyed and there was no trace left? Ad, yes. The Thamud, there was a trace of it left, and I took some. You guys want to pass it around? Forgot to bring it last time. It's back in sorry, so go ahead and pass this around. Can you merge the calls? So as we know that we're going through prophet stories in order, and every prophet story came in with one message. What is that message? Monotheism. What does monotheism mean? It's a Greek word. Moni, one, theism, God, one God. So every prophet there is came with the same message, monotheism. Now, what was the nation already preaching when they came? Polytheism. What does polytheism mean? Many God. So monotheism is one God. Polytheism is many God. So when the prophet came to their community, they're already worshipping other gods. So they believe in Allah, but they're attaching more gods, and that's called polytheism. Islam came as monotheism, and each prophet story came in with the same exact message. Monotheism, one creator. So how many of you try to go to the masjid twice a day? How many of you try to go every other day? How many of you try to go twice a week? Alhamdulillah. So one thing on the day of judgment, you're going to see Muslims who will actually be in regretful stage. They might not be in a punishment stage, but regret is like punishment. So Muslims, they will regret because they had so many opportunity to do the hasanat that they didn't do. Free time wasted. They had the opportunity to remember. They had the opportunity to recite. And these deeds, you will regret them because these are going to be the best deeds on the day of judgment. How many of you try to do 2,000 dhikr a day? 1,000 a day? 500 a day? So, doing a lot of dhikr, remember me and I'll remember you. Be grateful and I'll increase you. Doing a lot of dhikr will change your life. It will eliminate any anxiety you have. It will eliminate depression. It will eliminate anything that's coming your way, a calamity. It will increase your rizq. It will increase your paycheck. It will increase your life. It will completely change you. So do as many dhikr as you can. Set a goal. 2,000 is good, but why not 5,000? And to do dhikr is easy. You could do it when you're driving. You could do it when at the gym. You could do it anywhere. Subhanallah, astaghfirullah. You remembering your creator, and Allah will remember you when you need him, and Allah will remember you at your highest and at your lowest. So keep remembering Allah. Do more dhikr than what you can do. How many of you try to recite Quran or try to memorize Quran this week? Any of you try to attempt? Okay. So everybody here works. Everybody here has days off. And if you feel like your day off came too fast, like you barely enjoyed it, that's one big sign. Do you know what that sign is? There is no barakah in your time. There's no blessing in your time. Your day off should be longer and it should be joyful. But when it passes so fast, and whenever a hardship come to you is so long, and whenever an easy come to you when you're comfortable is so fast, that's a big sign that there is no barakah in your life. Reciting Quran will bring barakah in your life. Visiting the masjid will bring barakah in your life and in your time. So you don't want your day off to end so quick, but come into the masjid. Always remembering Allah. Allah will extend your time. Your day off will feel like it's longer. So, as we know, we started from the beginning to the end. We're going in orders with the prophet stories. We took a pause. We want to do the jinn story, the word of jinn. Now, each prophet story, usually it's, when I write, it's usually about 10 to 15 pages, and that's with it being as detailed as possible. So like the prophet of Noah, alayhi salam, the prophet of Idris is like 10, 15 pages. So usually I can do 2 prophet story in 1 halaqah. Now, halaqah is 30 minutes, as promised, and I try to bring as many as of you to come to halaqah. That's why I don't make it an hour. And I usually choose this location over the masjid because I'm trying to make it convenient for you guys to come to halaqah. Now, the jinn, for it being so detailed, it took about 50 pages when I wrote it. So it's going to be more than half an hour. I'll try to knock it off. Come in. I'll try to knock it off within 45 minutes, as fast as I can. So we're going to get details of the word of the jinn. Now, when we get in detail, this is not to scare you. This is not to, make you terrified. This is not to make you paranoid. We are not supposed to be scared of the jinn in reality. We're not supposed to be scared of them. Now, natural fear happens. So if you interacted with a paranormal activity, natural fear does happen, but you're not supposed to fear them. You're supposed to only fear Allah. So in this topic, I will, based on what's in the Quran, what's in the Sunnah, I will also, based on the interaction of a human experience with the jinn, I will also talk about theories of how the world of jinn would feel like if we were able to see it. So the question is, what's a jinn? Now in history, people are always fascinated about the unseen. And people who don't know about Islam, they would think that jinn is a demon that came from hell. And in Islam, we don't believe in that. We believe that jinn was created just like us, and they're given a choice like us. They live and die like us. So Islam does explain what is the realm of the jinn, and it does explain what is the word of jinn. So the word of jinn means invisible. So the word jinn means invisible. It's invisible to our eyes to see it. Like Jannah, paradise, it's invisible. We don't see Jannah. And Janoon, which is called mental illness in Arabic, Janoon, it's hidden in the head. So the word jinn is hidden from our eyes. Now, jinn, they had prophet like us. The way we had prophets, they live like us, they die like us. Now, there's a hadith that there are 3 types of jinn. So jinn is one, but they have 3 different abilities. The first ability, they can fly through the air. Second ability, they're able to take shift. And third ability, they're like us, they just move around. So that means jinns are born with different ability. So some can fly, some cannot fly. Some can shapeshift, some cannot. Some are able to move like us, not that fast, and some cannot. So they all have different ability. They're born with different ability. Now, jinn are created from smokeless fire. Just like we're created from water and clay, they're created from the hottest edge of the fire. And you could, if you want to be typical, you can say they're created from energy, if you want to be typical. Now, do jinn have bodies? So jinn, they're able to float around through our physical dimension and their physical dimension. We both share the same world, and they can transfer their body into energy, and they can transfer back in their body. So in the Quran, in the Quran, it states that the jinn have head. And in the hadith, it does state that they both have hands like us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Right hand and the left hand. So there's a hadith about when the Prophet ﷺ was praying, and a jinn came and interrupted his prayer, and he was able to put him on the floor and choke him until he can feel the breath of his, until he can able to feel his breath, the coolness of his breath. So what that indicates that they breathe like us, they pretty much do everything that we do. And the Prophet ﷺ said, I would have tied him up on a chair for everybody to see him, not physically see him, but see that he's there. But if it wasn't of the dua that Prophet Sulaiman made, I would have done that. And the dua he made was, oh Allah, give me a kingdom that nobody had before. We will get to his story in a little bit. So in the Quran, in Surah Safat, the tree of Zakum, which is an evil tree that comes out and is a very painful tree, and it talks about the ra'us of the shayateen, the head of the shayateen. So we know that jinns and head, they do have head, they do have hands, and they do have a form. Now, we are going to talk about one of the Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 102. واتبعوا ما تتلو الشياطين على ملك سليمان وما كفر سليمان ولكن الشياطين كفروا يعلمون الناس السحر وما أنزل على ملكين ببابل هاروت وماروت وما يعلمان من أحد حتى يقول إنما نحن فتنة فلا تكفر فيتعلمون منهما ما يفرقون بين المرء وزوجه وما هم بضارين به من أحد إلا بإذن الله ويتعلمون ما يضرهم ولا ينفعهم ولقد علموا لمن اشترى ما لهم في الآخرة خالق. So to translate the surah is the Yahud threw away the book of Allah. And Sulaiman, who was, Allah gave him the ability to control the jinn, he never did magic. The shaitan spread rumor that he was doing dark magic to control. The shayateen, they claimed that they unlocked the power that Sulaiman had. Now what's that power? Is to control the shayateen. by dark magic. And Allah defends Sulaiman. Sulaiman did not do dark magic. Sulaiman controlled the jinn by the will of Allah. So when the Yahud threw away the book, the shayateen began to spread a new message, a new religion you can say, that Sulaiman did dark magic. And Allah defends Sulaiman that he did not do dark magic. So the physical part of the jinn is when Sulaiman, he was able to control the jinns, and he asked one of the jinn, who can bring me the throne of the queen in Saba, which is Yemen? Who can bring me the throne? It was a huge throne. Out of the 1,000 jinn he had, only one stood up, and he was Ifrit. And he's the only one that said, I can go over there, bring the throne, and bring it back to you before you get up. So we know that not all jinn can travel at this speed. One maybe out of 1,000 that can travel as close to the speed of light. So this is where the Einstein theory, E equals mc squared, comes into reality, that the jinn was able to travel to Yemen, turn the throne into what? Into energy, come back to Jerusalem with it flying through energy, and then transfer it back to matter. So mass through energy. So the throne, transfer it to energy, retransfer it back in Jerusalem. And this is where the theory of Einstein that E/mc squared is to transfer matter or mass into energy. Now, who can see the jinn? Some animals can actually see the angel and the jinn. Like the donkey when it prays, or the rooster when it makes the sound in the morning, that the donkey sees the jinn and the rooster sees the angel. Now, jinn original shape is hidden from our eyes. So their world, their shape is completely hidden from our eyes. Your dog, he can sense energy around the house. That's why your dog sometimes just bark out of nowhere, and you're like, why are you barking? There's nobody here. And he just started barking. He's sensing this energy in the house. So dog can see shape that we cannot. It can sense energy that we cannot. So why is the human eye naked? Why did Allah created it for us not to see? So human eye has 3 types of photoreceptor. What are the 3 types? Red, green, and blue. So these are the 3 types in the eyes. Now, how are we able to see purple or other yellow? That's because that's a combination of the 3 types of color. Now, a shrimp has 12. So shrimp can see way more colors that we cannot see. So there are a lot of colors out there that you cannot see. Now close your eye and try to imagine a color you've never seen before. Good luck, you won't be able to do that. So our eyes has 3 photoreceptors. Shrimp has 12. So the world of the jinn is hidden from our eyes. Scientists have discovered that there are other living creatures or animals that are able to see things that we are not able to see. So, as we know from the Quran and the Sunnah, that chapter of the Jinn, Surah the Jinn, is the jinns were passing by when the Prophet ﷺ was reciting the Quran, and then they said, be quiet and listen, because they're listening to the recitation of the Quran, and they were amazed how strong and beautiful this recitation, and they went to their communities and they told that there's a book after Musa. After Prophet Musa, there's a book that has been revealed. So we know from this hadith that they have community, they have city, they pretty much live almost just like us, just different abilities. So where do the jinns usually stay at? They usually stay at abandoned places. They don't really like to interact with humans. Humans are noisy. We can irritate them. So usually in the forest, usually like in their world, it's not a forest. It's a whole different thing. But we share the same world. Usually in the graveyards, because our noise and physical that reaches them, a lot of them, they don't really like to be around humans.
Like the bathroom or something?
What is it?
Bathrooms and stuff like that.
So the bathroom are the shayateen.
Yeah,
the shayateen. So shayateen lives in the bathroom. Yeah, it's true. Shayateen actually live in the bathroom.
That's what I'm saying.
So in their world, they do have animals like us. They do have beasts like us. We pretty much share the same world. So we share the same sun. We share the same night. So if it's night here, it's night there. If it's hot here, it's hot there. We share the same world, just in different loops. So they have their physical, we have our physical. Our physical and their physical does not touch. So their physical and our physical floats in each other. The only difference between us and them is they're able to see our physical and they're able to hear everything we say. So our physical and their physical, so they feel physical. They actually feel physical, but our physical and their physical are completely separated. And the only time they're able to touch our physical is when a human contact a jinn, and they're able to enter the loop, which is our loop, and which is dark magic. We will get into it. Now, they cannot hurt us, we cannot hurt them, but Ibn Taymiyyah, he narrated that, you can actually harm a jinn by throwing, for example, hot water in the air, or if a jinn is passing by throwing boiling water, because back then they didn't have draining system, so they would throw the hot oil. When they're done, they throw it in the air. So if a jinn is passing by, he won't feel the water, but he will feel the heat of the water, which it will affect him, and he would want to take revenge on you. So majority of the jinns, they don't care about you. They're not after you. They live a lifespan like we do. They die like we do. Their word is hidden from our eyes. That's why Allah tells us on the Day of Judgment, we're able to see the angels, because in this world we're not able to see the angel, because the naked eye is not able to see it. We're not able to see the jinn. We're not able to see other colors that we should see, but we're not able to see them. So in conclusion, from what we talked about, their physical world and our physical world are in the same world. Okay, so if it's hot here, it's hot there. The same exact world, but it's separated. Their physical and our physical does not touch. It flows against each other. If we were able to see the jinn, we would be able to see their houses, their life, how they fly. We just won't be able to touch them, because that's how Allah created both worlds. So the shayateens are a group of jinn who joined Iblis' army. And just like, you go to the army now, you have the captain, you have the lieutenant, you have the major. They have their own army breaking down. You have, the shayateen, who has somebody on top of somebody on top of somebody. And each person that's born, he's born with a qareen. Now what's a qareen? A shaitan who stays with you and who try to misguide you as much as possible. Throws bad thoughts, get you to sin, get you to forget about Allah, get you to do shirk, get you as far as away. That's his job. Now, can a jinn fall in love with a human? When you're taking your clothes off, or when you go into the bathroom, when you're taking your clothes off, you say Bismillah. When you go into the bathroom, you're supposed to say Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khabith wal-khaba'ith. Who are the khabith and khaba'ith? They are the male and the female of the jinn. You don't want the jinn to see you in the bathroom. You don't want the jinn to be following around with you, because a jinn can actually fall in love with the human body, and he can follow you as long as he can. So you want to create that barrier between you and the jinn. Now, talking about paranormal activity, so if it wasn't of the Quran and the Sunnah, we won't have any idea what these are. The paranormal activity, we won't have no idea what they are. There's a brother who, his name is Michael Holloway, who grew up in England, and he grew up as a non-Muslim. And his job, he was an investigator working with the police to figure out what are these paranormal activity that happen in the house. Cabinet opening by themselves, shelves are flying, things that not supposed to happen. Like jinns are not supposed to be entering this physical and able to do these things. And he never really had an explanation. And even the police and the cops would see this and they don't know what to do. So they would call him to come in and, try to get this spirit out of there. Now, from a non-Muslim point of view, these are evil, demon, spirit, came from a whole different dimension. That's from a non-Muslim point of view. Islam teaches you what these are. It teaches you they have the life like we do. They have a choice we do. They're not all powerful. They don't see the unseen. But from a non-Muslim point of view, you really have no idea. So Michael Holloway, he wrote many books before he came to Islam about paranormal activity and how he couldn't really explain what they are. And his son, he would, gamble, he was on drugs, he was, completely lost. And he seen his son one day turn 360, literally flip 360. So he seen his son turn 360, and his son converted to Islam, but he didn't really have much information about Islam. So his son one day gave him the Quran, and when he opened it in an English translation, and he went to the chapter called the Jinn, and he was fascinated to see that it explains to you who are these unseen creatures, who are these spirits who keeps coming in and haunting human and messing with human and doing all these. And once he became Muslim, he understood what they are. He understood what their goal is. He understood what are they doing. So not every noise you hear in your house is going to be a jinn. So jinn cannot come in and harm you. He cannot come in and start messing around with you because he cannot feel the physical of this world. The only time a jinn can do that, three things. One thing, somebody done dark magic on you, which we will explain what dark magic is. Second thing, you called out for the jinn, because jinn cannot enter your physical world unless you call out for him. And there's books and ritual on how to call out for jinn, which we want to stay away from. But I'll explain to you guys what that means.
Where they go in like people's bodies and stuff like that?
We're about to get into that. Yeah, but we have a whole chapter. So another thing is, if you move to like an apartment or a house of someone who actually used to do dark magic, and then you're living in there, everything's normal, and out of nowhere you see the cabinet closing and the doors are closing. These scientists from point of view is not supposed to happen. That's why they're called paranormal. They're not supposed to happen. Cabinet opening by themselves, because they cannot touch our physical unless a human singled for the jinn to enter. Other than that, they're not able to feel the physical of we are. Okay, so we want to talk about sleep paralysis. What is sleep? Have any of you heard of the sleep paralysis?
Yeah,
or not?
yeah.
Have any of you guys experienced it?
I do.
You did?
I do.
Pretty much everybody did. So basically what it is when you're waking up or you're falling asleep, your body just freezes and you're not able to speak. Your eyes are open and you begin to have an episode, which is a nightmare, and you're seeing all these different things you never imagined, because a human mind cannot imagine something you never imagined before. So if you try to imagine something you never imagined before, good luck, you can't imagine that. And that's scientists proven that a mind cannot imagine something you never experienced. So how are people able to see these creatures they never seen before in front of their eyes, or they're able to see the shadows or beasts? In history, sleep paralysis, it was a thing. So 4 out of 10 will experience it in their lifetime. So it's not a gene related for you to have that. It's actually a medical. You could be under a lot of stress. You could be having trouble sleeping. That's why you're having it. But the question is, how are you able to see this terrifying thing in front of you? So to understand what you're seeing, before Islam, they would call it the attack of the jinn. So a jinn is attacking you, called kabus. So a jinn just attacking you when you're asleep. Now, so to understand how are you seeing these beasts in front of you while you're still awake but you're still asleep, you have to understand what happened when you're asleep. So we talked about in the previous halaqah that when you fall asleep, your soul leaves your body and it travels into other dreams or realms or other things. And when your body is frozen, your soul is supposed to leave, but your eyes are open, so it's not supposed to leave. So you're stuck in the middle. You're stuck in between sleep and awake. And that's what sleep paralysis is you're stuck in the middle between sleep and between awake. So just like you have a nightmare when you're asleep, because every nightmare you have, just so you guys know, it's a jinn related. So if you're having a nightmare, that's caused by the jinn. And if your body is stuck and you're seeing these creatures come in front of your own eyes and you're witnessing it right in front of you, that's because your body is stuck in the middle between sleep and awake, and that's why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. So you're basically having a live nightmare. You have a question?
How come sometimes I get it when I'm playing Quran?
So there is hadith and surah we're going to mention in a little bit. Open the door for him. That before you sleep, you're supposed to recite this, and if you do, then you are protected through the whole night. So if you're, for example, reciting the Surah Al-Kursi, Allah will send an angel that protects you all day. So Surah Al-Baqarah, jinns will not be able to enter. We'll talk about that in a little bit once we get into dream. So you're stuck in the middle between sleep and awake, and now you're experiencing a nightmare. Go ahead.
My bad.
You.
So with reciting it, what if you listen to it? Is it the same or no?
Reciting is better, but listening to it also works. So we're gonna get into it. Surah Al-Baqarah, it will prevent the jinn from entering your house for 2 or 3 days, and you also gotta make sure that, like for angels to enter your house, you can't have any images on the wall because of what happened previous in humanity, where they worship images and they worship other things. You can't have images on the wall, or angels will not enter your house. So we'll talk about that. Your question will be answered in a little bit. So your body's stuck in the middle between awakeness and awake, and you're seeing a live nightmare happen in front of your eyes, and that's what sleep paralysis is basically. So it's not a jinn that's controlling your mind. It's not a jinn that's causing you to have it. It's caused because of medical issues such as stress or overthinking, and you're experiencing it. So dream comes in 3 types that the Prophet ﷺ taught us. The first thing is your mind, your mind imagining things, which is what we dream of. The second thing, which is the horror, dream of nightmares, which is caused by shaitan. And the third dream is the dream of the righteous. So the dream of the righteous is the dream that Allah will give you. So for example, Allah gives you good news in your dream, and you have that good news. You're not supposed to go and share it with anyone that you feel like might hit you with an evil eye. So that dream, keep it to the people who actually care about you. A person came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, I had a dream, and he was very disturbed. He said, I had a dream that I seen my head cut off in front of my own body, and I'm terrified and I'm scared. He said, don't tell anybody about your bad dream. If you have a bad dream, on your left side, when you wake up, don't actually spit, but blow spit 3 times, because the shaitan is on your left side, causing you to have these dreams. And say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, and the shaitan will flee. But when you go to your friends and say, oh, I had this dream, I'm terrified, the shaitan pride will get bigger, and he wants to cause you more and more dream. Now, most of your dreams, you have control over them. Most of your dreams, but sometimes shaitan can actually have some control. So you might have a dream where you're just stuck and you're just being in pain or being hurt. Now we know that when you're dreaming and somebody knocks in your room, you hear the knock because the body and the soul are linked. So you hear the knock. But whenever you have a nightmare and it's caused by shaitan, say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim and go on your left and blow 3 times. The question is wet dream and sexual dream caused by the shaitan?
Yeah.
Yes, they are caused by the shaitan. Naturally, you're not supposed to have them, but a shaitan can come to you and in your dream and do these things, and there's no sin on us because it's not our fault. It's a shaitan doing this. So why are the shaitan active at night? Because we know that the shaitan sleeps when the sun is up, and when the sun comes down, which is sunset, the shayateen, they're active. So usually murders or robberies, they do happen at night because shayateen is out. Now a person that wants to rob a place, he's thinking about it, but the shaitan comes to him and start throwing thoughts in his head, do it. So that's why nighttime is when you see most of the crime. Another thing is, it's possible that shayateen, they like to come in our dreams. So it's possible that they like to stay up all night just to mess with us in our dreams. So that's why they stay up all night active. So when you go to sleep, the shaitan, he puts 3 knots on you. And then the first night, he will tell you, I hope you have a good night. You had a really tired day, sleep all night. Why does the shaitan put the 3 knot on you? Is for you not to get up for Fajr to pray. The person, once he wakes up, when he puts his alarm at 5 to get up for Fajr, and he remembers Allah, the first knot is broken. He has 2 more knots. And when he gets up to make the wudu, the second knot is broken. Once he gets up by the bathroom, then the 3rd knot is broken. So when you're asleep and you want to get up for Fajr, that's shaitan trying to press on you for you not to get up. So barriers. Let me drink some water. What time is it? 8:44? Okay, I got some time. Barriers. what is the barrier that's supposed to protect us? So as to answer your questions, Surah Al-Baqarah, if you recite it in the house, or if you can you put on mute, brother? If you have it in the house, the shaitan does not enter for 2 or 3 days. Keeping music off your house is a good thing because shaitan will enter your house. Pictures on the wall. Anytime you enter the house, say Bismillah. If you're not saying Bismillah, then you're inviting the shayateen to come to your house. So how does the barrier work? Like Allahu A'lam, this is the unseen. But if I was to theory, how does the barrier work? 2 theory. The first theory, when Allah created the world and the jinn world, He created barriers where when you say Bismillah or when you go in the bathroom, there's a wall that's between you and the jinn. This is just a theory, Allahu A'lam. The second theory is, we know that the angels are in uncountable numbers, and they fill up the whole skies. And whenever you recite Al-Baqarah or you recite before you go to sleep, the angels will come in your house. Shayateen does not enter the house when they see angels. They don't like angels. They don't like to be around angels. So anytime you say Bismillah, the angels will come and the shayateen will flee. So 2 theories. That's the first theory I mentioned. The second theory is this, that the angels do not enter your house if you have a dog. So if you have a dog in your house and you're reciting Qur'ans and doing all this and it's not working, that could be your answer. Now, black magic and sihr. We want to talk about sihr. So the word sihr means hidden. So magic, you can't see it, is hidden. That's why suhoor, which is the darkest night, is called suhoor, which is the darkness that you don't understand. So why do people go to magician? Now, the magician that I'm talking about is not what you see on YouTube with, getting rabbits out of hats or apples just caught out of nowhere. These are illusions. They're used with the technology we have now. That's not devil worshipping. Devil worshipping is the real dark magic. What I'm talking about is dark magic. I'm not talking about the what you see on YouTube. That's not devil worshipping. So why do people go to magician? First, competition. A person wants to eliminate his competition, so he would go to a magician who does dark magic, and we're going to explain how he messes up with the business. Second, to mess up a marriage. For example, he or she was supposed to marry to a person and they end up backing out. The person's family is jealous and they want to mess up the marriage so they can go back to marrying the person. And this happened a lot where we're from. Third thing, revenge. Somebody wants to take a revenge on you. Fourth thing, love. Somebody wants you to love them and they go to a magician for them to cast love. So for the person to start loving you. And how does a jinn do that? We're going to get into it. How does a jinn make a person love you? Fifth, you owe somebody money, you don't want to pay him. He goes and he knows he can't do anything illegal, so he goes and do dark magic, which is legal in their point of view. Another thing, jealousy and hate. Somebody who's jealous of you or hates you will do something like that. So to understand what magic is, let's talk about the story of Prophet Musa, because his story, alayhi salam, his story is mentioned in the Quran, where he brought the miracle to Pharaoh, which is tyrant at the time. And Pharaoh said, this miracle you're showing me is magic. So Musa said, Pharaoh said, I will bring you a better magician than you. Then Musa said, okay, let's set a time and a date. And they set up a time where there will be like a big gathering, like a festival. And he gathered all the magicians in Egypt. And you gotta understand, magic back then was very popular in Egypt. In ancient Egypt, it was very popular. And they told the magician told Pharaoh, will we get paid? He said, yes, and I will make you closer to me. He's the king, and he's telling them, I will pay you and I will make you close to the palace. Like you can come in as you please and you'll be close to the big guys and all that stuff. So the magician, they heard about Musa, that he's able to do a miracle, which is magic in their point of view. It's not magic, that he can make a stick into a snake. They said, easy, no problem. We could do that because they can do other things. So we can do that. So when they gathered up all in the festival, Musa stood up and he told them, do not lie. You are a fraud. What you're about to do is not real. So when you see magic, it's not real. Magic is just to mess with your eyes. It's not real. And he said, fear Allah, he will destroy you. So Musa is accusing the magician of being liars. They're not real. So they ask him, who wants to go first? Musa said, you go first. So when the magician threw the stick and the stick began to move, ropes, and people in the crowd began to see snakes that move, everybody stood up, they were cheering, and Musa kind of like got nervous, like how can I compete with this? It was such a severe, they were able to basically do millions of people fool their eyes, which Musa was like, how can I compete with this? And Allah told him, La takhaf innaka antal a'la. Do not be afraid, you are going to win. So when Musa threw his stick became into a big live breathing snake, and it swallowed up all the tiny ropes. And when the magicians seen a live breathing snake, they know this is not magic, this is a miracle from Allah. They all bow down and they said, we believe in Allah and we believe in the Lord of Musa. So Musa is a prophet, we believe in the Lord of Musa. This kind of embarrassed Pharaoh, the king. It kind of embarrassed him, and he said, I will crucify you and I will hang you up and I will kill you. And he began to threaten them. They told him, do whatever you want. End of the day, we're going to go back to Allah, we're not going to go back to you. You cannot torture our soul, only Allah can, and go ahead and kill us. So the magician went from being the worst people to the best people. So now we know that the illusion they seen isn't real. So it may appear supernatural, but it isn't real. I'm almost done. So what are different types of sihr? Which is illusion, which is what we just talked about. The other one is separation, which is separating a man and a wife from each other. That's another sihr. Another one, casting love, and basically for somebody to cast you want somebody to love you, and they don't love you. So you go to a magician who does sihr, and the person began to imagine you over and over and over and over to a point where they began to love you. So casting love, that's another thing. Another one is making you possession, making you majnoon. Another one is having bad dreams and hearing voices and feeling somebody's here. And another one is paranormal, which is cabinet closing, TVs turning on by itself, doors are slamming. So why are magicians doing this? They are doing this because they get paid. So when somebody goes to a magician and says blah 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 blah, they'll say, okay, it's gonna cost you this much. They do it for money. Now, one thing you gotta understand, magician, they have to serve the shaitan. Magician does not control the jinn. Magician have to bow down to the shaitan, and they have to do what they are. That's why Musa called them a fraud. You can't do magic. The shaitan is doing the magic. You are a fraud. You have to bow down. You are a servant of the shaitan. That's one thing you understand. The biggest myth is people think that people that do magic are powerful. They're not powerful. They are the servant of the shaitan. They are the slave of the shaitan. So how do magicians contact the jinn? This is a good question. How are they contacting the jinn? Usually for the human to be able to contact the jinn, they have to open a book and read a ritual. They have to be in a dark room. They have to wear very wealthy clothes, like dirty clothes. And they have to have candles, and they began to call, oh, chief of the jinn, come out. Oh, chief of the jinn, come out. Oh, chief of the jinn, come out. Now the jinn has now, in their physical world, has entered our physical world. So now we're able to hear his voice. They're able to hear his voice. They couldn't hear before. Before that, if the jinn even wants to show him, he can't show himself until the human began to signal. The jinn might come in a form of animal to communicate, or he might speak through the air. So a jinn might do that. Then the magician will ask the patient who wants the magic to be done on the other person. The common thing they need is nails and hair. So they need their nails and hair to be able to do the magic on. The second stage, the magician, have to slaughter in the name of the chief of the jinn. And why do the jinn wants a human to slaughter, like a slaughter an animal, and they tell him leave it in an abandoned place? Is because in the jinn world, they talk to themselves and say, look at this human, look what he's doing, he's my slave. Now, what do the jinn want? Why are they doing this? They want to feel superior to the human. Since day one, from the moment of Iblis till now, Jinns wants to feel like they're above us. So does the chief of the jinn do the sihr, the magic? No, he sends his minions. The chief of the jinn, he has shaitan under him, he sent his shaitan to do the work. And magicians, some magicians that convert to Islam, they explained like what they have to do for the jinn, and their story is completely horrible. Even the worst criminal wouldn't do a magician would do, because magicians are known to be the worst human being ever. They have to sleep with pee, they have to sleep with stools on their bed, they have to do the most disgusting thing a human will not do. What time is it?
8:44.
It what?
8:44.
Okay. So interaction with magic, I think I'm just gonna skip this because we don't have much time. I'm gonna skip this. So possessions of the jinn. So how do you know if a person is possessed with the jinn? So if you look at Surah Al-Baqarah, verses 275, it tells you about the person who has completely went insanity by the shaitan. So possession is actually real. Somebody can get possessed. Now, for somebody to get possessed, the symptoms are non-stop nightmare. That's one of the symptoms. Is you just every single day nightmare. Cannot sleep. You feel like somebody's watching you. So that's the symptom that the jinn was able to enter your body either through dark magic or through another thing that the jinn can enter your body is deep depression. Like I'm talking about really deep depression or deep anger. When you completely lose it, then the jinn can actually enter your body and take some control of your body. And these are the symptoms for it. Or when you hear the Quran and then you just begin to scream and yell, that's also a symptom of jinn possession. So an interview was done with a witch in Russia. I'm sure some of you guys seen the video. And the video went on that she talked about how she does magic and dark magic and how all that stuff work and who's her customers. And she said, one people that I cannot influence are the Muslims. Not just any Muslim, the Muslims that stay remembering Allah. She barely knew anything about Islam, but she says that's one of the people I cannot really influence. The person sitting in front of her asked her, and you can see this video on YouTube, he asked her that, why can't you influence them? She said, every time I try to do dark magic, it's like a barrier or a dome protecting them. And I cannot do any of them. Any other people I can do magic on, no problem. But a person who stays praying and stays remembering, I cannot hurt him at all. And she's not a Muslim, she's a witch. She's literally a magician. She does dark magic. And she explains how she does it. She gets up in the middle of the night, she goes to the graveyard, she has to kill an animal, she boils stuff, and all that stuff is just mockery from the jinn world to us. Look at these humans, look at what they're doing.
Who's that person?
I'll send you the video on the group chat. So why do jinns possess? Like I said, revenge. So if you have hurt a jinn and he wants to take revenge on you, we talked about it earlier. Somebody done dark magic on you. Love, which is a jinn who is extremely obsessed with you and follows you around, and he feels like you're falling into a stage of really bad depression and falling in a stage of suicide. He will possess your body to calm you down. That's another reason. How do we tell between possession and mental illness? It's either a combination of both or one of each. So a mental person could just be mental, or a mental person could have a jinn and he's mental, or a person could just be possessed, he's not mental. And he would go to the doctor, he would take medicine or calm him down, but the jinn goes in and out of your body. So the jinn doesn't stay in your body 24/7. He goes in a few hours a day, controls your body, then he just leaves you. Another thing is walking in the middle of the night in abandoned places. If you're angry or vulnerable, that's how jinn can actually enter your body. There's a dua, أعوذ بكلمات الله التامة من شر ما خلق. If you say that, it would completely protect you from any possession. I'm gonna have to skip this story. So Ibn Qayyim, he told us about a story that there was a famous story about a magician at the time who his dad had a donkey, and the donkey would fly through the air, and basically the man passed away, so the son inherited the donkey. The son got on the donkey and said, Yalla, let's fly, come on. Then he said, Bismillah, come on, fly. The donkey turned around and spoke, and he said, I will not fly until you do what your dad done for me. He said, what did my dad do? He said, bow down. So jinn wants human to bow down to them. Do you guys want to pause or continue? up to you guys if you guys want to. I got 3 pages left.
Yeah, just
Continue? Okay. So, what is fortune tellers? We're going to talk about fortune teller. And before coming of Islam, the skies were open where jinn can actually travel in the sky, and they would stand on top of each other and they would listen to what the angels are saying. So fortune teller, they basically say that they're able to see the unseen. That's what fortune teller is. They're able to know the future. And basically, like here in Ohio, if you drive around, you'll see shops that says like about fortune teller, like commercial shops. You go in and they're like, oh, I know your future. This is gonna happen. That gonna happen. So how does fortune teller work? When you walk into them, they'll say, you basically in love with this person. You do this when you get up. You do that when you do this when you sleep. And you're like, how does they know all my life? How does they know all this? That's because the Qareen with you is speaking to the jinn that's next to him, and the jinn is communicating with the fortune teller. So the fortune teller is shirk. So when you're sitting down, it'll say, oh, your dead grandma died, she's talking to you. They do this to make money. That's a fraud. Fortune tellers are fraud. Last page I want to talk to you about is, and then, when you go there and one transaction will become into more. You begin to spend more money with them because you will think that they're able to see your whole life. Last thing I want to talk to you guys about, and we're done, is Ouija boards. Have anybody heard about Ouija board?
Yeah.
So Ouija board was invented in the 1800s, and in the 1886 it made it to the White House. And basically Ouija board, anybody that actually did them, some of them will experience paranormal and some of them wouldn't. And then after they experience it, they'll go back to their life like everything is normal. Then they'll begin to see their house, paranormal activity, the cabinet are closing, the TV is turning on. So Ouija board, you're basically signaling to the jinn world, come into my life. And people do this out of fun and out of game. But when they go back to their normal life, they have to call somebody who's an expert to come and see what these are. From non-Muslim point of view, these are evil spirits. From a Muslim point of view, you are signaling to the jinn to come into your world, and they will follow you back to your normal life. So it might be fun and game in the beginning, or the board might move while your hand is touching it, and you will think, okay, that's paranormal. But when you go back to your normal life, you'll begin to, witness all these. I wanted to go more in details, but we ran out of time. Do you guys have any questions? Nope.
No,
So,
thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.